My name's Zorka Dunstan. I'm currently managing the Community Safety Division, but I normally manage the Safer Communities Unit. And I've been doing a lot of work with the Department of Justice in terms of elevating the profile of the grants within Victoria Police and pretty much just increasing the importance in terms of how we can work in collaboration. It's important that applications for grants are supported by evidence to demonstrate the crime prevention issues or problem you're trying to address. I think when Chris previously mentioned about, that community consultation and how they had the members walking out on the road or in the evening just to get a feel of what's happening in the area, that's some of the information that police can give you. So we've got our frontline members going out there. We know that certain areas are problems for us, and we can provide you with some of that anecdotal evidence. We also recognise too that there's a varied level of arrangement with local areas, and I'll talk to you about some of the things you can do if you're having some issues at your local areas. The role of Victoria Police. So I've got 2 points up there, but I'd say it's more than just providing a supportive letter. With the CCTV applications, it's mandatory that you get a letter from your local area commander or above, and your local area commander is inspector level. And then we can provide a supportive letter for the other infrastructure applications, although that's not mandated. In terms of our other role, I suppose it's working in collaboration with the councils, so providing that other information and other evidence to suggest that there is some sort of a problem in your local area, and I suppose evidencing or working together to come up with some sort of a crime prevention application or a response for that particular area. So engaging with Victoria Police. So the scientific literature shows that the most effective crime prevention strategies are those where local police and local government areas work together to undertake some sort of enforcement activity in combination with public safety and security infrastructure enhancements at high crime locations. These are commonly known as hotspots. The public safety infrastructure grants provide an opportunity for local councils to partner with Victoria Police to develop projects that are more likely to have a significant and sustained impact on reducing crime. Some of the benefits. So Victoria Police recognises that crime prevention is no longer the sole responsibility of police. Everyone has a responsibility for crime prevention, including the community. So local governments are well placed to assist police to prevent crime, and the public safety infrastructure grants provide an exciting opportunity for the community to achieve real and long-lasting reductions in crime. So we strongly encourage local councils to partner with police to target police and non-police resources to areas where the community is most likely to see and experience an impact on crime and safety. We can assist you in various ways, identifying crime hotspots in your local areas. As part of Victoria Police's commitment to community safety, each police division is required to nominate a couple of high-risk community locations, and this is usually based on crime data, calls for service, community concerns, local police knowledge, and the impact of crime and public order issues within that location for community safety and for police. So we can undertake some crime mapping to identify hotspots by specific crime type within high-risk community locations. A site assessment undertaken by Victoria Police can also assist in pinpointing the causes and drivers of the chosen crime problem to inform the development of an evidence-based treatment. So some of the things you can do. So I would suggest contacting your local police at the earliest stage, similar to crime stats agencies. We're all sort of hampered with priorities. So the sooner you get in there, it's not only just getting that letter of support, but also getting that undertaking and that cooperation with the police in terms of trying to identify what a good response will be for your particular project. So contact them at the beginning of the project, that would be my suggestion. And like I said, due to operational requirements, police may not always be able to support if the request for assistance comes in at a later stage. So in collaboration with police, you're able to identify the crime issues within the high-risk community locations that will benefit from a combination of police enforcement efforts and infrastructure enhancements. So additional stakeholders can also be identified at this stage, such as your local traders, schools, other government agencies, and community consultation may also be required. In negotiation with police and other stakeholders, you can identify most evidence-based treatments to apply the crime problems. All stakeholders should then probably agree on the division of responsibilities for the entire project, so making it clear in terms of whose responsibility it will be, and perhaps trying to seek that undertaking at the beginning of the project so it's clear for everyone. And then there's opportunity too to do some research, identifying effective treatments for similar crime problems in other areas or jurisdictions as well. So Victoria Police can support applications by providing a letter for the from the relevant local area commanders. You can even speak to your local crime prevention officers or other police as well. So it's not just limited to your local area commanders, but just reiterating CCTV, it has to be a local area commander at a minimum to supplement other evidence obtained by local councils. We all know at this stage that CSA are the only ones who can provide you with the statistics, so we're not in a position to provide you that data. But some of the things that we can provide in our letters of support include a narrative of the location and extent of the identified crime problem, including crime patterns and trends, and a description of the impact of the crime problem on the community and on the police. It can also include assessments of any current interventions that have been inadequate, ineffective or absent, and also a proposed treatment too. And with the proposed treatment, how we can benefit the community and the police. So Victoria's police understanding of the agreement between stakeholders on the respective areas of responsibility for the project, including a commitment from police on the activities they'll undertake and how those activities will enhance the effectiveness of the infrastructure project. So CCTV letter of support, once again, get in early, contact your police at the earliest stage. The LACs are able to provide you with this letter of support if they believe the CCTV is justified based on the type and number of offences at the proposed CCTV site, taking into consideration any alternative crime prevention approaches as well. Please note that the use of CCTV footage for monitoring and evidentiary purposes must meet technical and logistical standards, and the Victoria Police technical guidelines for CCTV systems can be obtained on the Victoria Police internet site. We have successfully partnered with a number of councils to facilitate CCTV arrangements with significant outcomes for the community. However, we are also aware that the evidence shows that the effectiveness of CCTV can on occasion be limited. So, we also recognise too that the evidence tells us that CCTV can be quite effective at targeting motor vehicle related crime in car parking facilities, and usually when it's done in conjunction with other strategies, such as improved lighting, increased security measures, signage alerted, etc. So your local area commander can provide you with the information on the type and nature of the crime in the proposed target areas. They cannot provide unpublished crime statistics or other intelligence. We have a crime mapping and intelligence analyst capability, and subject to resource availability and priorities, we can identify the high crime locations, the types and nature of crimes, trends, temporal patterns of crime, impact of crime on these locations for police and the community, and assist with identification of potential causes and treatments for these crimes. Now, for more information, Victoria Police, in conjunction with the Community Crime Prevention, Department of Justice and the Crime Stats Agency, have this year compiled a document called Engaging Victoria Police in Public Safety Infrastructure Projects, including CCTV. It's just a two-page handout that's gone up to our executive command level. It's been endorsed at that level. So there's information there which outlines some of the things that we can provide and support you with. And if you're having issues with contacting your local police, I'm more than happy for you to email me direct. So I've got my email address up there, and I'll make some inquiries from my level to try and get that level of engagement at your local areas. So other crime data sources, I'll give Crime Stats Agency another plug, so they're up there. And they can provide you with the customised reports. And once again, if you want to be competitive, I would suggest you get in contact with your local police, get them on board early, and also get them involved in your project as well. There's been a number of projects in the past that have been quite successful because they had that level of engagement from Victoria Police.
Thank you very much. Jan Black from the MAV. Community perceptions of safety. Do either of you collect that information?
So usually the way that you collect that kind of information is through surveys. We don't personally run one. There's certainly national surveys that go down to sort of the capital city balance of state level. Apart from that, I think DHHS might do some.
We do NSCSP data, so
That's right.
National Community. We don't release it publicly, but we do have an idea in terms of what the issues are in particular areas, and that perception would be incorporated in terms of identifying what would potentially be a good or bad response. But the other issue is, sometimes the perceptions are not necessarily aligned with the issues at the local area. So we recognise that and, try and come up with a response to overcome some of those misconceptions.
Just wondering whether the Crime Statistics Agency can provide an overall view of hotspots within an area, or is that more Vic Police data?
So depending on the area, there are some things that we may be able to provide, sort of looking at mapping hotspots. But I would suggest getting in touch with us and we'll be able to give you sort of specifically what we can and can't do with that. Next week is probably a better time to get in touch with us because we're just about to improve some of our mapping capabilities. Once we can do that, it actually gives us more options to provide some of that. Some hotspot maps that are related to the crime statistics themselves. I think the hotspots that you'll get from Victoria Police may be a little bit different. So it's just keeping in mind that, they may not be the same when you look at them next to each other.
Thanks.
And I'll probably just build on that. Even with the hotspots, it's important to identify what's actually happening on the ground as well. So, sometimes even with the statistics, you have the statistic there, but it doesn't necessarily reflect some of the deeper issues that are happening at that particular area, or if it is an issue. So that's why it's good to get in contact with your local police and identify what the anecdotal evidence tells us in terms of what's happening at that particular area.
Hi, I was just wondering if you have longitudinal data. So how far back does the data go that we can access?
Yep, our database goes back 11 years now.
Yeah, 2005.
2005, we harvested a whole lot of information from VicPol's servers, so we can go back on quite a distance, to be honest. Anything beyond that, one of the reasons why we didn't go back further is that you start running into issues of lots of legislative change and business process change. Anything that far back's a different land as far as I'm concerned from a statistical point of view. So we've got a decent time series, and realistically for a lot of the issues you're looking at, even the last 5 years will give you a good idea of what trends are. But depending on how intractable your issue is, what kind of case you want to make, we can cut and slice and dice depending on how you need it.
Harry Zenos from Hobson's Bay. Can you provide data that correlates one offence to the other? Like perhaps, for example, there might be drug activity in a specific hotspot that leads to an offence.
Okay, so now we're getting into the realm of very tricky questions. So what we can do is we can look at co-occurrence of different offences within an instant. That's tricky but straightforward, on that boundary. Once you start looking at things that drive later offending, that gets really, really difficult, and particularly with the influence of drugs and alcohol. So we might see in the data where someone's been charged with a drug offence, usually a use or possession, but that doesn't necessarily tell you all the people who may have been under the influence when something occurred or may have a habit. It's literally just people who've been picked up with a particular substance. So we can tell a little bit of what goes on, but it's probably not going to give you a very clear picture of what a whole lot of drug-driven or alcohol-driven offending might look like. It's just really, really hard to get at.